It's time for good energy, and I'm Dr. Julie, and welcome to Bodyful Day 232. We are talking about day 2 of allergies in the senses, and today we're talking about the sense of sight. So why do allergies, seasonal allergies or things like that, always end up affecting the eyes? All right, let's start with the basics. Ignore the zombie pumpkin over on the side here. Go ahead and take a deep breath in. And release. Take a deep breath in, expand in your belly, expand in your chest, expand up into your sinuses, and release. And we're talking about allergies in the senses, and today we're talking about the eyes. So I want you to breathe into any time your eyes have felt sticky and gooey and gross because of allergies. Go ahead and take a deep breath in and release. All right, so as you may have already suspected, I am a late bloomer to allergies and allergy season, especially on day 1. And so the very first time I ever experienced sticky and gooey eyes was actually, I think I must have been 28 or 29. No, I was actually 29. I had been at Luther for my undergrad, and that's where I had seasonal allergies. Went away to graduate school, and then came back and started to teach at Luther College in the psychology department. And there, the building was built in 1967, I think, was built when my parents were at Luther. And they had, of course, what every college usually has, the classic steam heat version. And when the steam heat would go on, the dust that had settled on top of the radiator would burn off. And that action of the heat burning off that dust would end up with me being gunky-eyed. And for the day or two, I would either move my classes outside if it was warm enough, like today. Today is March the 3rd. It's Happy Voting Day. But it's beautiful here in Iowa. It was terribly cold last week, but today it was a balmy 73 degrees, and now it's just generally okay. So anyway, I would either take my classes outside or find smaller areas to move them to, or move them to a different building, a newer building that didn't have the same heat issue, until that dust had burned off. But one of the things I did acknowledge was that this was itchy, gummy, yucky, blurry version of sight was not acceptable. And so what is it in the terms of the equation that we can look at that? Well, remember, we're working on the healing equation. So energy to have clear sight, clear sinuses, body that actually copes well with known allergens that we have, but we can just kind of truck right through it, equals good energy and minus stressors. And so far I've been talking about kind of what we know, that eyes are a version of the stressors, and that when there's a lot of gunk around, they have a tendency to pick up allergens or react to allergens. And why is that? Well, so remember, eyes have their covering. It's not skin, but it is a moist membrane that can actually have things stick to it. But why would heat turning on when I was 29 or 30 be different from the heat turning on when I was 18, 19, and 20, when I was actually going to school and in the same building? Well, this has a lot to do with your energy to heal. So the stressor of that, me being in that building for 12 hours a day, was definitely more than me just stopping in for a class or two, maybe being in there for 5 hours and moving on. But the other thing is that as you get older, you don't process allergens as well. And so they can affect certain things. Now, the other thing about the eyes is that the eyes are connected to the sinuses. So your tear ducts end up going and coming out your sinuses, which is why when you cry, when you're watching a sad movie, you end up having to blow your nose, because the sinuses are connected to the inner tear duct, and I believe a little bit to the outer tear duct, and that it can go the other way. So for many of us who have allergies that affect our sinuses, our eyes can get gummy because that gunk can go back up the pathway and get into the eyes. You can have pussy, yucky eyes. Babies are perfect examples of this when they have sinus infections. They kind of have that pus pocket that exists right at the corner of their eyes, and that's just things going backwards. So what can you do? So we know the stressor. The stressor is that mucosal membrane for some reason is a little bit more reactive. It maybe is not as wet, so things are sticking a little bit more. So what can you do? You can do eye drops. There is a slightly better approach if you're willing to just do this like once or twice a day or 3 times a day. That is the saline eye rinse. So you can do an eye rinse that actually is a salt eye rinse, and that will actually kind of wash the membrane, and that will keep build up from coming up and help kind of lubricate it as well. And then the other way, of course, is to do a saline rinse. So do the nasal rinse, and in rinsing out the sinuses, you actually help prevent the backup into the sinus, into the eyes, for those of you who get a lot of really big congestion when you have allergies. So there are a couple of ways of bringing good energy into sight. Can we use sight to be good energy in? And is there sight way that sight is actually a stressor? Probably not. It's probably just having your eyes open, and having your eyes open causes the allergens. Can we bring sight in to increase your good energy? And yes, we can do it the good old-fashioned way. We can look at things that are calming. We can watch things that are calming. We can put ourselves into calming rooms. We can spend more time with our eyes closed while we have our allergies, so that there is less visual stimulation going on and less contraction or constriction and opening, dilation of the eyes, so that your eyes work less when you are in allergy season. But when it comes down to it, really what we're looking at is saline rinse for the eyes, saline rinse for the nose, and that will be good energy in for those sticky, gooey eyes. All right, so that is sight. We're going to dive into some more interesting and more connected ways later, but let's finish this off. Take a deep breath in and release. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care.